Hello, Alaskan. If you want to vote in the November presidential election, first you need to be registered. You can check to see if you are already registered using the link in the description. If you still need to register, you can do so online if you have a valid Alaska driver's license. If you don't have one, you'll need to print out a form and mail it in, or go in person to a Division of Elections office or the DMV to fill one out. But you've got to register by October 9th if you want to vote in November. Once you've registered, you got a lot of options to vote. If you prefer to vote from the comfort of your own home, you should apply for an absentee ballot by printing out the form at the link below and mailing it in by October 29th. Then your ballot will just show up in the mail, and all you have to do is fill it out at your own pace and send it back in. Or if you want, you can request to vote electronically starting on October 24th, when the application will be posted on elections.alaska.gov. They'll email you a PDF ballot with instructions on how to fill it out and submit it online. You'll have to sign a voter certificate to prove that you are who you say you are, scan it, and submit it with your ballot. But as long as you have a printer and a scanning app on your phone, voting electronically is one of the easiest ways to do it. Good job, Alaska. If you really want that in-person voting experience, though, you can vote starting on October 24th at an early voting location, or on November 8th between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. at your polling site. The locations for both early voting and your Election Day polling place will be available on elections.alaska.gov starting in September. You'll need to bring a photo ID with you, like a driver's license, state or military ID, passport, or a hunting or fishing license. If you don't have one of those, your polling place should also accept a utility bill, bank statement, or any government-issued document with your name and address on it. Either way, the election workers at your polling place are there to help you vote, so don't be afraid to ask questions if you aren't quite sure what you need. You can also look at a sample ballot ahead of time at the link in the description. It will tell you everything you'll be able to vote for in addition to the presidential election. You don't have to vote for every single thing on the ballot, but if you want a chance to do some research on the candidates and issues in your local elections, it's a pretty good idea to take a look at a sample ballot first. You can even fill it out and bring it with you to the polls so you can remember how you want to vote. Links are in the description for everything you need to check your registration, vote early, and find your polling location. Thank you, Alaska, for voting. Hi, South Dakota. So you want to vote? Well, before you vote, you gotta make sure that you are registered to vote, and if you're not sure if you're registered already, you can check using the link down in the description. If you're not registered, or if you've moved or changed your name since the last time you voted, you'll need to fill out a registration form. To register in South Dakota, you're going to have to fill out a form on actual paper. Probably the easiest way to do it, as long as you have a printer and a stamp, is to print out the form that's linked below and mail it in. You can also fill out a form in person at your county auditor's office, city finance office, driver's license office, or public assistance agency. There's a link to all their locations and hours below. Either way you register, you gotta do it by October 24th if you want to vote in the November presidential election. Once you're registered, that's when you get to vote. If you want to vote without even having to leave your house, you can download an absentee ballot application in the links below, fill it out, and mail it to your county election official. You can technically mail it in all the way up until November 7th, but the sooner the better. Your ballot will just show up in the mail, and you can fill it out at your own pace and do all the research you want, and then send it back or drop it off at your county elections office by November 8th. It's that easy. If you want to vote in person on November 8th, though, polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and you can figure out where you're supposed to go at the link in the description, or through South Dakota's Vote 605 app. Download links below. If you want to vote in person, you'll need to bring an ID with you, like a driver's license or state ID, military ID, student ID from a high school or college in South Dakota, or tribal ID. If you don't have any of those, you can still sign a personal identification affidavit, basically a promise saying that you are who you say you are, and they will allow you to vote. You should also consider bringing a sample ballot with you. You can find one on the same website you use to look up your polling place, or on the Vote 605 app. It'll tell you everything that you'll be able to vote for in addition to the presidential election. You don't have to vote for every single thing on the ballot, but if you want a chance to do some research on the candidates or issues in your local elections, it's a pretty good idea to look at a sample ballot first. And you can even fill it out at home and bring it with you to the polls if you want to remember exactly how you wanted to vote. There will be links for everything you need to check your registration, vote absentee, or find your polling locations in the description. Thank you for voting. Hello, Hawaii. You want to vote? that's great news, but first, you have to register. There's a link below where you can check to see if you're already registered, but if you're not, or if you've moved since the last time you voted, you're already on the same website where you can register online as long as you have a valid Hawaii driver's license or state ID. If you don't have one of those IDs, there's a separate form in the description that you'll have to print, fill out, and mail in to get registered. Either way you register, you've got to do it by October 9th if you want to vote in the November presidential election. Once you are registered, you'll have a few different options for how to vote. If you'd rather vote from the comfort of your own home, you have until November 1st to apply to vote by mail. You can apply using the same website you used to register online, or you can print out and mail an application using the link below. As long as you apply by the deadline, your ballot will show up in the mail. Then all you have to do is fill it out at your own pace and send it back in before the November 8th election day. If you're applying to vote by mail, there's even an option to sign up to automatically receive an absentee ballot for every election you're eligible to vote in, so you don't even have to ever think about it again. They'll just mail you a ballot every time you're eligible to vote. You can also vote early in person starting on October 25th until November 5th, but you'll have to call your county clerk's office for times and locations. A link to their contact information is in the description. On November 8th, polls are open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can figure out where to go to vote by calling 808-453-VOTE or checking the link in the description. If this is your first time voting in Hawaii, you'll be asked for a form of ID. They'll accept any valid photo ID or bank statement, utility bill, or paycheck with your name and address on it. You can also log into the voter registration website or call your local county clerk's office to get a sample ballot. It'll tell you everything that you'll be able to vote for in addition to the presidential election. Now, of course, you don't have to vote on every single thing on the ballot, but if you want a chance to do some research on the candidates and issues in your local elections, it's a pretty good idea to look at a sample ballot first. You can even fill it out and bring it to the polls with you so you can remember how you want to vote. There will be links for everything you need to check your registration, vote early, register, get your sample ballot, and find your polling location in the description. Thank you for voting. Hello, Idaho. Before you can vote, you gotta make sure you're registered. You can check to see whether you're already registered using the link in the description, but if you're not registered yet, or if you've moved since the last time you voted, you'll need to fill out a registration form. There are two ways you can register to vote in Idaho. The first is by mail. There's a link to a registration form that you can print, fill out, and send in by October 14th. I know having to mail is annoying, but the sooner that you're registered, the better, so just do it. If you missed the October 14th deadline, don't panic. Idaho allows you to register at the polls on election day. To do that, you need to bring a valid Idaho driver's license or state ID with your current address on it, or a combination of another photo ID, like a student ID or passport, and a piece of mail with your name and current address on it, like a bank statement, utility bill, tuition bill, or paycheck. So once you've registered, you get to vote. If you'll be out of state on election day, or you'd just rather vote from the comfort of your own home, you can apply to vote absentee. There's a link to an application in the description. You've got until November 2nd to apply, but the sooner you do it, the more time you'll have to look at the ballot and research the candidates before you make your decision. Once your application is processed, you'll get a ballot in the mail, which you can fill out at your own pace and send back in by November 8th. In some counties, you can also vote early in person between October 24th and November 4th at your county clerk's office or elections office. There's a link to all their websites below where their locations and hours will be posted by the time early voting begins. But if you want that experience of voting in person on November 8th, the polls are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and there's a link below that will tell you where to go to vote. You'll need to bring a photo ID with you, an Idaho driver's license or state ID, a passport, tribal ID, or student ID from a high school or college in Idaho all count. You can also go to your county clerk's website to look at a sample ballot that tells you everything you'll be able to vote for in your county. You don't have to vote for every single item on the ballot. You can leave things blank if you want to, but your local elections can be pretty important, so it's worth checking out what's on there ahead of time. You can even print out a sample ballot and bring it with you to the polls so you don't forget what you wanted to vote for. All the links you need to check your registration and polling location and get a sample ballot are in the description. Thank you for voting. Hi there, Alabama. Whether this is your first time voting or you've been an Alabama voter for years, I'm glad you're watching this because the laws in your state have changed a little bit since the last election. Before you vote, though, you have to register. You can check if you're registered using a link in the description below. But if you've never registered before or you've moved since the last time you voted, you'll need to fill out a new registration form. If you have a current Alabama driver's license or state ID, you can submit your registration application online using the link below. But if you don't, maybe you're a student from another state or you don't drive, you'll have to print out a form and mail it in. Either way you do it, you have to register by October 24th if you want to vote in the November election. So if you haven't registered yet, you should probably open up a tab and do it now before you forget. Once you submit your form, you'll get a letter in the mail confirming that you're registered. You can't vote early in person in Alabama, but you can vote absentee by mail if you will be out of your home county on election day. That includes if you're a student in another state but would prefer to vote in Alabama, if you have a disability that prevents you from going to the polls, or if you're required to work a shift that's 10 hours or longer on election day. If any of those apply to you, you can request a ballot by printing out the form in the link below and mailing it in. You have to request your ballot anytime between September 14th and November 3rd and return it by November 7th. If you're going to vote in person on November 8th, the polls are open between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and you can check the link in the description to figure out where exactly you'll need to go. And make sure you bring a valid photo ID with you. They'll accept a driver's license, state ID, passport, student or employee ID from any college or university in Alabama, government employee ID, or military ID or tribal ID. If you don't have any of these forms of identification, you can get a free photo voter ID card that will also be accepted. To get one, you need to apply at the Board of Registrar's office in your county. The hours of these offices can vary, so if you need one, start trying to get one now. At alabamavotes.gov, you can print out a sample ballot that tells you everything you'll be able to vote for. You can even fill it out and bring it with you to the polls so you don't forget what you wanted to vote for. All the links you need to check your registration and polling location and get your sample ballot are in the description. Thank you for voting.